It's not the peptide, it's the individual. I think the worst things I've seen personally, I've got a lot of horror stories from doctors and what have you, but from clients I work with.
He's a functional medicine coach,
therapeutic nutritionist,
and a peptide therapy specialist, Dean Henry.
I work with healthy people to make them healthier, longevity, anti-aging, prevention, but I help people understand more about peptides and the education that I've learned for them to go on as a guide. Peptides are made of these 20 amino acids that are found in the body, essential and non-essential. They're sequenced in different ways to have a different objective or target area. We see a real safety profile with peptides. And then you get these people, these doctors all over social media trying to monetize from peptides. They say, well, these have got popular. And then some of the protocols that I'm seeing from them, really, really worrying.
I'm the typical guy who's going to the gym. I want to improve my body composition. I want to have more energy, feel better, look better.
Very popular protocol is...
What are the red flags and things that you should be aware of when people are talking about peptides?
There's a few variations that I think firstly...
Quick pause, guys. I need to tell you something. It's that time of the year where everyone's on the winter arc hype, where they're building their physique, which they plan to reveal at some point in the summer of 2026. But I hate to be the guy that says it. Most of you are going to end up getting fat. You'll be overeating. You'll be following some sort of a program which isn't actually going to be getting your results. You're going to be improvising on the spot, no doubt. You won't be tracking. There'll be no structure, just random exercises with minimal progress seen on a week-to-week basis. Pretty frustrating, right? Well, that's the whole reason why I built the Thirst app, to help busy people like yourself find a system they can actually stick to over a long period of time. We have thousands of transformations from men and women who just plug into the app and get the exact plan they need for their goals, show up to the gym, and just put in the work, all for less than an hour of their time. You get access to over hundreds of programs and hundreds of different meal plans, everything which you could possibly need to get yourself in shape. So if you actually want to stick to something and see results without taking things to the absolute extremities, click the link in the bio. Let's get on with the video. What's up, guys, and welcome back to First Things Thirst. We have the peptide expert, Dean Henry, in the building today. How are you doing?
Very good, Mike. Thank you for having me. Lovely view.
Yes. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, obviously, peptides have been all the rave recently, like the past couple of years, and particularly the past year. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's experimenting with it, but there's a lot of things which people need to be aware of and a lot of misinformation out there, which you've said, obviously, is... quite annoying for someone like you who's been in the game for a very long time.
Yeah, it's frustrating. As I say, I've been around this for 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing now is there is awareness. So a good thing with awareness, everyone's jumping onto it. But of course, when something's popular, especially now with the rise of social media, there's some things definitely to watch out for sure, yeah.
How did you get into this space?
Really just from my background, I did some sport when I was younger, had some knee injuries, decent levels, a sprinter, footballer, snapped my ACL when I was 15, 16. And really, I just kept getting misdiagnosed. They kept shaving my cartilage instead of work on the ACL. I mean, I was 15 a long time ago, so it wasn't quite there with the advancement of medicine we are now. And then it was just about regeneration. And I came across a podcast, I think in 2015, and they were talking about epithalon, which is anti-aging at a cellular level, showing that years of Russian data was showing that you could increase your telomere length after 7 years. So literally reversing aging at a cellular level. So it just kept me that. Yeah. So I jumped on that. And then from there, I've just been rabbit holing and deep diving for 11 years.
And experimenting with yourself.
Lots of self-experimentation, yes.
So, okay, let's go to the very basics of what a peptide is for those people who don't know. What is a very kind of simple definition? Yeah,
I always like to give two answers here. So there's a peptide that we get in our food. That when you eat a steak, it goes from a protein to an amino acid to a peptide. So it's just your digestive enzymes break it down to a peptide. They offer many processes in the body, from your hormones to your immune system. So without peptides, it wouldn't exist. They're just small chains of amino acids. Normally it's two chains of amino acids up to 50, depending on who you speak to. Above 50 a polypeptide, above that a protein. Therapeutic peptides, which we're going to discuss today. So these are signaling molecules. So again, two chains of amino acids to around about 50 chains. And then these target receptor proteins in the body, mostly, and they trigger an endogenous response. And generally, these peptides are always found in the body. I always say this, and I simplify it, that these peptides are found in the body, but that's not exactly true. So it is true, but it's a more specific. So peptides are made of these 20 amino acids that are found in the body, essential and non-essential. So with these 20 amino acids, they're sequenced in different ways or modified and sequenced in different ways to have a different objective or target area. So there's around about a trillion different sequences you can have. When you think about, you could, let's just say it's from number 1 to 20. You could have 1, 2, and 3. Then you could have 3, 2, 1. You could have 1 and 20. So base is a trillion, I've been told. So these different sequences are then created by people a lot more intelligent than me to target different areas in the body. So as an example, Semax and Selank, that's a 7-chain amino acid. Now, Semax and Selank is for neuroreceptor and cognitive health. Now, Semax, which is for cognitive energy, comes from a stress hormone in the body. So it's a derivative of a stress hormone in the body. So this stress hormone is the extract is 4 amino acids. They then add another 3 amino acids to it. And then you can take it as a nasal spray and it's more stable and goes straight to the neuroreceptors and breaks the blood-brain barrier. So it's just one example of many. But so the amino acids are found in the body. The sequences are not always found in the body, but derivatives are.
Okay. So in very basic terms, a peptide that you take externally would go into your body and start signaling to a particular area to fix, repair, to start doing something if it's stopped doing something?
To optimize and to regenerate. So I always sound like I'm dumbing this down, but it's for myself. I'm not a medical person.
No, you need to dumb this down for me and for everyone else.
This is for me, so I can explain it. I often do use analogies. So when we take these peptides, they're then looking for receptor proteins in the body. These, I say, like into the doorbells. So it's ringing the doorbell. And so what we do, we're not actually letting the peptide in as such. So if we was taking, say, steroids or growth hormone, where a stranger's ringing the doorbell, we're letting that stranger in, then it's endogenous. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's exogenous going internally. When we take a peptide, it's like what we used to call knockdown ginger in the UK. So it rings a doorbell, runs away, but creates activity in the house. So you're not actually letting the stranger into the house. And this is why, when taken sensibly, there's a real safety element to it, because you're not actually really letting anything in theory. So that's how most peptides work. Not all, how most peptides work.
Okay. And then the rise in the popularity recently, where has that come about?
That's because of the GLP-1s, the Ozempic and the skinny pens, the weight loss. And so they are basically peptides, but I would always put them in a category of peptide drugs. The reason for that, they've been modified to stay in the body longer. So this analogy, again, I'm going to use this quite a lot today probably, but this analogy of ringing the doorbell and running away, suddenly, because we've extended the half-life, now turn this into a drug, they're keeping the finger on the doorbell for longer. So you start to desensitize or the receptors. So now they need to start increasing the dose, and it's staying in the body for 5 to 7 days, depending on the GLP. And that's when we see side effects. So essentially, when we take a GLP, it's hitting multiple receptors at the same time. The higher the dose, the more receptors it's going to hit, and it's staying in the body for an average of 6 days. That's the downside of what I would call a peptide drug. The pro to a peptide is that they don't stay in the body very long. They ring the doorbell and run away sometimes for minutes. The downside to that is you have to take them multiple times a week or sometimes multiple times a day to get the optimal outcome.
Okay. So that's the basics of what they are. In terms of the sort of the stigma and the potential downsides and disadvantages for health, what might that be for a peptide?
I think it's misinformation, because as I say, we see a real safety profile with peptides. I've never really seen any side effects from my clients or people that I'm advising and educating for 11 years. And we always stay safe, low, slow, stay safe in the parameters, do the correct cycle, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off for many. And I think what's happened now is that, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, is a lot of medical people have jumped on the back. Of course, influencers, PTs, everyone. But for me, it's more dangerous with the medical people that are jumping on the bandwagon, because these are the people you should be listening to in theory. And they will say, well, only use a medical professional for peptides. Well, by default, that doesn't make sense, because peptides in general, apart from the peptide drugs, are research only. There are a few that are FDA regulated now, but in the masses are not. So there is no human studies. So if they're saying use them for medical purposes, then that actually is probably more grey than what I'm doing, because I'm not a medical professional. So we need to be really careful here. So then you get these people, these doctors all over social media trying to monetize from peptides. They say, well, these have got popular, just use me, I'm a medical professional. And then some of the protocols that I'm seeing from them, probably because I'm noticing more, really, really worrying. MOTS is a big one. So MOTSI's trending a lot at the moment. That's exercise mimetic. So basically all the benefits you get from exercise without doing exercise. Of course, you should do the exercise as well.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem with this is that this does stimulate the receptor proteins. It does ring the doorbells. But it's going in at a deeper level. It's DNA encoded. So because we have mitochondria, it's a mitochondria-derived peptide. Because we have mitochondria in every cell in the body, it's literally hitting every cell in the body. So taking this like a normal peptide, which is generally 5 days on, 2 days off for 6 weeks, is actually quite dangerous because it can start to trigger mast cell activation, as in a histamine response, without you being allergic to the actual peptide that you're injecting because it's so potent. So I'm seeing these protocols from these doctors and online and hearing it through clients that come to me that they're taking this peptide every single day for 6 weeks. Ridiculous. I was told 8 years ago. I mean, MOTSI's quite new. It's 2015, I think it was founded. And people are taking it every day because they think they should take it like a normal peptide, but in fact, you just pulse it like 3 times a week for 2 weeks, take a break.
Yeah.
And that way you avoid the histamine response. And I've seen some really bad outcomes actually from top doctors in the US, given these protocols, and people are going into anaphylactic shock.
And this is just simply ignorance on their part, not understanding the effects, or they're just wanting to monetize by selling more.
Both.
Yeah.
They said, this is how peptides work. I've been on a 2-week course, and that's what they do because they didn't learn about this at med school. And I feel like I'm really targeting doctors. I'm going to just do a caveat to it in the moment. But so they just get this 2 weeks of information. They have no real life data on it because they haven't been working in it for the time that we have or people that I aspire to have. So, I've got a couple of thousands of hours now of educating, feedback, anecdotal feedback. I see what a client's response is after 4 weeks. I know how to adjust the protocol. They don't have that information. They just don't. And it's so individual. I just want to say a caveat now is that the people I aspire to, the best people I work to in the industry are doctors, but they've been doing this for 15, 20 years. They've been doing it in clinics. They're based in the US. They train at the Peptide University in the US. And these are the people that I aspire to and have learned from, but they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to caveat that.
It's something I've seen a lot now, even from just purely fitness influencers who have seen the potential for making money with peptides suddenly announced that, I'm launching my new peptide company. It's like, what the fuck do you know about peptides? Like, it's ridiculous. But that's just the way the world works. When there's money to be made, people will just jump onto it.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot with personal trainers and getting their clients in shape. Even out here, like, they will just recommend their clients to start taking these steroids just so they can get their client in shape and get the transformation. Because they get the transformation, they can put that on social media, they can get more clients, but they have no consideration into the health damage that they're causing for their client and then the permanent side effects that they're going to have after that. So it's a pretty sketchy area to be in.
It really is.
So how, if someone's like browsing through social media, what are the red flags and things that you should be aware of when people are talking about peptides? And then who should you be listening to and taking advice from?
There's a few variations to that. I think firstly, doctors have just started talking about peptides and you can see, and they're normally the ones that say only use a medical professional. That's a red flag straight away because that's not really the case because these are generally research compounds. Number 2 is when it says not for human use. That's worrying. They say that to protect themselves, but there's I had legal, as you can imagine, I had legal advice on this many years ago, and putting for research purposes only is fine. Putting for research purposes only, not for humans, when you are saying and selling this product for humans, it's just not, it's not ethical. So that's number 2. And number 3 is a little bit difficult to explain, but it's just over the years I can visualize and see when a peptide is sold online, if it's a cheap peptide or not, and hasn't gone through all the testing and studies. And the other and a good thing to ask people that are buying peptides or you're buying peptides from is when they say their purity is high, so 99% purity or whatever, we see it all the time. I would always say to them first, can you tell me about the endotoxins? And if they respond by saying the purity level is really high, they don't know what they're talking about because purity doesn't relate to toxic level.
Okay.
But they think it does.
Okay. So yeah, that's one thing, again, I wanted to dive into is the sourcing of the peptide itself. The best peptides, is there a specific area where they're usually produced? Is there other areas in the world where they tend to have a lower quality, a higher toxicity level compared to others?
Yeah, so again, diplomatically from Asian countries,
You're playing very safe
China. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. So diplomatically, look, peptides from China is they have a bit of a stigma associated with them. Not always so fair, because there's a small percentage of labs in China that probably produce some of the best peptides in the world. But then we're talking about the raw material. So when you go from raw material to putting into vials, this is when you start having toxic exposure, and this is where some of these sort of developing countries, if you like, they sort of struggle. So at the very worst case, to have the raw material from a good CGMP certified lab in China sent to somewhere in the US that have a lot of experience with this, that have a CGMP certified lab in the US that are doing the filling, that's a good place to start. Ultimately, at the moment, where we tend to get our peptides from is it's all created in the US. The CGMP lab is in the US, and they also connected to our lab in the EU, where we're having the ready-made peptide pens, and that comes from a lab that's CGMP certified, and they also deal with oncologists. So we know we're dealing at a good level here. So it does take a bit of research, but going online, seeing these little 3 ml vials, silver foil, shiny foil labels, selling BPC for $50-$60, it's a real red flag for me.
What's on, because you mentioned the foil label, what is actually, is there a logo?
Well, so they generally they will get this from a source in in Asia or the Far East, and they will say, can you just give me this BPC 157 10 milligrams? They'll buy it for $5, and they say, oh yeah, we'll customize this for you, a white label. So they white label it there, stamp it, get sent to them in the UK or wherever, and then they sell it for
it. Is tricky. Like how would you, if you were a consumer and you get it, like you wouldn't really be able to know. It's not like you can do a home test.
No.
And this is something you're just going to put into your body.
Absolutely.
Like that freaks me out. The thought of that. And I'm trying to go back to what you originally said. The original peptide could be fine, but it's the container that it's put into that's the problem.
Yes, in the labs generally they will receive the raw powder. So the raw peptide powder, the compound. That compound needs to go into a vial so they can sell it. So they might buy this powder for very, very cheap for 1 kilo. That's a lot of 10 milligrams. Yeah. Right. So then they need.
But it's good quality though. It could be good quality.
It could be good quality, absolutely. Yeah. But then it's that process. What method are they using? For example, the lab in EU that we're using, they have got the shielding, the glass shielding. They put their hands through these gloves.
Oh yeah. So it's very sterile environment.
Absolutely, and this is what you need to do. No corners in the room, so there's no bacteria being caught in the corners. There's another level of conversation, and majority of the stuff on the market, I'm pretty sure, doesn't cover all those aspects.
Damn. Okay, so people need to be very careful and cautious.
Absolutely.
Moving on to, I want to go through some of the most popular and trending peptides per sort of category. If we move on to the peptides trending in research and metabolic health, Retatrutide. Say it for me, please.
Retatrutide.
There we go.
Yep.
So what's that one all about? Why is that the trending at the moment?
So that's a triple agonist. It's going through medical research at the moment. Should be launched for doctors and clinicians later this year. So that's evolution. So that's what they call triple agonist. So we had Ozempic, which was a single agonist. We had then Mounjaro, which was a dual agonist. And now we have Retatrutide, which is a triple agonist.
Okay, so what the hell does that mean, agonist?
Agonist, it means it's triggering receptors in the body to perform better.
So you're saying it's like what? Triple agonist is 3 times better?
Essentially.
Very simplified.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, if I was to just break it down a little bit without being too boring. So Ozempic, which was the GLP-1.
Yeah.
So that's appetite suppressing, slowing down gastric emptying. And then you have Mounjaro, which is a GLP-1 and a GIP, which is a glucagon insulin nootropic polypeptide. And that's basically enhancing what the first one did. We then have Retatrutide. Now, what seems to be happening with these additional agonists is they seem to be mitigating the potential side effects from the previous agonists. So what happens with glucagon is it helps balance your glucose variability. So like when a diabetic takes their insulin and their glucose levels drops too low, they then need to take a sugar pill. Glucagon in theory is doing that. There's no sugar, but it's balancing out that glucose variability. And that's why I took it, because minimizing glucose variability is really good for anti-aging and longevity. So you take that, you get a more balanced glucose levels.
So you weren't taking it because you were just being
a little fatty, like eating too much. You actually want it for the other health reasons as well.
For longevity, I mean, apart from a little thing that I did last year, I've never wanted to lose weight. I've always struggled to put on weight, so I would never take a GLP.
Yeah.
It goes against everything that I want to do.
Yeah.
But because of the longevity aspect, that's why I took Retatrutide. So that's the triple agonist glucagon. Has other benefits like helps you maintain muscle while you're losing fat. That was a big thing when people were taking Ozempic and Mounjaro. They were losing too much muscle. So it seems to balance that out, and that's why people are really enjoying that particular product. And because this is a peptide drug, my guidance and education to people is to do a microdose, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take a peptide drug and turn it into a therapeutic peptide like the BPC. So the best way to do that from my experience is doing a super low dose 2 or 3 times a week.
And what would that look like?
Super individual, but generally it's 0.5 milligram, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Some people, someone I worked with the other day, I've got them doing 0.2, so that's 0.6 of a milligram per week. But 0.5 seems to yield the best results with the less side effects. Just to put this into context, from what I can see, when it's launched medically, they're going to get people taking one shot 9 milligrams to 12 milligrams per week, 10 times more than what we're working on and seeing good results from.
Okay, and for what period of time? And there needs to be a cycling aspect to it.
6 weeks on.
Yeah.
And then the 6 weeks, then we say 6 weeks off, and then decide whether you need to do it again. The whole idea of taking peptides is to get your base level to a certain level, and then it's about your lifestyle. The better your lifestyle is after you've got to your optimal outcome with the peptide, then by default, the reason why your peptides are less functional is because you're aging. So the better you do with your lifestyle to maintain aging at a cellular level, then the less time you'll need to do peptides. If you finish your Retatrutide, say, I've rebounded and now I'm eating crap, going out drinking, sleeps all over the place, then you're going to need to go back on it sooner.
Does that tend to happen?
There are some people that it's habitual because they've stopped taking the Retatrutide, it doesn't work anymore. And they've told them, I've rebounded, I'm really hungry. Yeah. And I'm saying, well, that's not, I don't think that's really the case.
Yeah.
And that's more psychological.
Yeah.
And then it's about, all of this is about lifestyle first. All the peptides we're discussing are the icing on the cake.
I guess that's one of the biggest things that would be up for debate is the dosage and the cycling and duration of the cycling. Because I could ask probably loads of people, maybe even like a lot of people like you who really know their stuff. And I would I don't think I would get the same answer back every single time.
No, similar, I would say, similar, as long as they really do know what they're talking about. And this sort of 4 weeks to 12 weeks, I know that's quite a difference, but that does depend on the individual. The Peptide University I'm planning to do some work with, they run a lot of their cycles for 12 to 16 weeks, which is a long time. It's very hard for me to go against what I've learned because I've seen such great results with no side effects. And this low, slow effect, generally 5 days on, 2 days off, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. I've seen such good results. There's no reason why I would feel I'd need to change that.
Yeah. Is this something you can easily get at this point?
What's that?
Reta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This is all for research purposes, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what does the future look like for this in particular? Like, is this going to literally solve obesity in America, for example?
Absolutely. That's it's 20. I mean, even lipid panel. We've seen improvement with lipid panel, brain fog, hormone health, and weight loss, of course. My concern is the level that I'm hearing that they're going to go to market at. That worries me because then we will see side effects for sure. I've seen
what they're going to be recommending people.
Yeah. So they're saying between 9 milligrams and 12 milligrams, one shot per week. And then we've been seeing that 0.5, 3 times per week works well with no side effects. Some people have had side effects. Myself, I stopped after 2 weeks because I noticed that, a bit too graphic, I noticed my stool quality wasn't as good. So, I said, well, this isn't good. If my stool quality is not as good as what it was, something is going somewhere. So I stopped, took 6 weeks off and then did it again. And it seemed that my 2 weeks is just at my maximum level. So it's so individual.
Yeah.
But of course, my job really is educating and working with healthy people to make them healthier, or, longevity, anti-aging, prevention. In medicine, that's not what they're doing. They're working with obese diabetics. So at 9 milligram, 12 milligram might be what's working for them. But, the researchers and the biohackers and the health optimizers, they need to take that into consideration. I've seen rebuttal on my posts and, YouTube videos I've done before where they said, you shouldn't be doing microdosing Retatrutide. Who told you this nonsense? You've got to hit all your receptors at once, do high dose, one shot. Where'd you get all this rubbish from? I said, well, okay, well, firstly, it's based on my anecdotal evidence for the last year. I've seen some great results. And secondly, I'm always trying to avoid side effects. And it's basic science. The more receptors and the longer the half-life you're hitting all at once, the higher chance you've got a side effect.
Yeah. I guess we're only going to find out in like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We might even be looking back and be like, oh dear, that was a big mistake. Because we are in the early stages. Like there isn't really any long-term scientific studies done on this quite yet. It's the same thing with like all this biohacking equipment.
Yeah.
It's trending and like everyone's like, oh, I'm going to do the red light therapy and the oxygen stuff, or the saunas and the cold plunges. And it's just like, maybe it's not actually as good as we think it is. Maybe it's still a placebo thing in the head.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, generally, most of us are intuitive enough to know if something feels good or not. Training, energy levels, sleep. If all these things are optimized and you notice that from something protocols you've been running, then generally that's a good sign, I would say. But let's see what the future may bring.
Yeah. What about, oh God, I can't even pronounce these. I think I'm like a little bit, dyslexic. We'll find that out today. Tirzepatide.
Tirzepatide. That's Mounjaro. So that's a double agonist that we just spoke about.
Okay.
That's another name for
and
Mounjaro.
Then semaglutide.
Semaglutide is the Ozempic. So that's the single agonist. So semaglutide, which is Ozempic, was first. Tirzepatide is Mounjaro, was second. And now Retatrutide, which doesn't have a medical name yet, but it's called Retatrutide.
What do you mean? How can it not have a medical name yet, but it has a name?
So it's got a scientific name. So the scientific name for Ozempic was semaglutide.
Okay.
The scientific name for Mounjaro was Tirzepatide. And now the scientific name for Retatrutide is Retatrutide because it hasn't been launched into the market yet.
Okay, so that's going to have a new name.
I guess so.
Who the hell's naming all these, by the way?
I guess it's Big Pharma. Yes.
So the Big Pharma, whoever like creates it, it's like, I'm going to call it this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eli Lilly is the producer for Retatrutide.
If you created one, what would you call it?
It's like a DH super fat burning peptide.
Okay, moving on to recovery, regeneration, and performance. This would be obviously interesting for me because I want to maximize performance, maximize and optimize recovery. We have a couple of ones here. I guess the popular one, the BPC 157.
Yep.
Body protection compound.
Yep.
Why is that so good?
That's probably one of the longest standing peptides that most people have been working with. When you mentioned why did I get into peptides, the regeneration aspect, BPC 157 was the first one I took.
Yep.
So that's a 15-chain amino acid that's found in the stomach and gastric juices, and that helps your gut repair. So taking it systemically will go around the body and look for parts of the body to repair. It works well with blood tissue, cell migration, blood vessels, cell migration, soft tissue like connective tissue, helps rehabilitate this. I've seen some amazing results over the years. Just even today, someone messaged me saying how quickly their knee recovered. And even just for, a lot of the high rocks athletes now, they take BPC as part of their training because you recover better from training, you just rehabilitate better. So you're able to push harder in the gym, especially if you're planning or training for an event. That's a 15-chain amino acid that focus on connective tissue mainly, but also really good research around heart health because of the blood vessel optimization.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess for those people who are training regularly and need to perform at their best, that's something that would be worth looking into. Absolutely. Because I imagine if somebody is just casually going to the gym, taking seriously, but they're going 3 times per week, would there be a need for them to take it? Because assuming that they're eating right and they're sleeping right and then having like a rest day or 2 rest days in between each session.
Very unlikely. But if there's someone that gets quite a lot of niggles and people doing shoulder press and their shoulders are getting niggly and they don't seem to recover, then for me that was the last time I did BPC. I just got a little niggle in my shoulder. It was doing something really silly actually. I wasn't training, I won't talk about that, but and it had a niggle there, and then I took the BPC and I can just tell when I get this I thought that will hang around a while. Took the BPC, it cleared up in 5 days. I know previously it would have taken weeks, and then I was back training again. So there's always a possibility to take it, but you're right, just let the body recover, eat well, do your saunas or whatever and see how you feel. But if you're still not recovering, and that happens when you get to my age, it can happen, then you might need something like
guys,
BPC.
it's 78 by the
way. I act like I remember. So for regeneration it's good, and for training recovery, and as I say, if you're an athlete and you're competing, then
I think for me, because I'm obviously at the point where I'm shifting quite a lot of weight and the form is controlled. I don't feel like I'm overdoing it at this stage, but I have noticed recently whenever I've been pressing, particularly any kind of like incline press or shoulder press, there is I'm aware of something in my shoulder that's like limiting me from really giving 100%. And I'm always a bit wary of that. Usually what I would do in that scenario is I would just not press for a while.
Okay.
Or maybe I would completely change the position of the pressing. So instead we do a neutral press and just leave out any pressing where I'm sticking the elbow out. But I feel like something like this could just heal it.
Yeah, especially if it's something you're aware of and it's been around for a little while and it's niggling, then absolutely. I mean, I've seen, I shouldn't call them kids, but 25-year-olds taking BPC and they've got tendonitis in their elbow and they heal in 3 days because their receptors are so sensitive. They're still optimized as at the cellular level. The peptide's still optimal in their body because they're so young. Whereas someone a bit older or closer to my age and they take it for tendonitis, you can see it can say 2 to 3 months. So,
okay, that's interesting. So the older you get, the slower the response might be.
More often than not, yes.
Yeah. And is there a point where you could be too young and should be completely avoiding it, or is that not an issue?
I think really just by default, I anyone under the age of 21 just seems pointless.
Yeah.
You should be at your optimal recovery anyway. Even up to 25, that's when a lot of these sort of peptide functions and growth hormone and everything starts to decline. But anything below 21 would seem a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, you're pretty much invincible at that age. I mean, I would go straight into the gym and crack on with my working heaviest weight without any warm-up and I'd be absolutely fine. And then you realize after doing that, like you get into your late 20s, like you definitely can't do that anymore.
No.
You'll have a wake-up call.
I think I spent half an hour warming up, 10 minutes training.
We'll get back to the podcast in a second, but first of all, I want to say a massive shout out to Bionic. I have been using their supplements for the past 4 years. I never knew what supplements I needed to take. I'd always go into the pharmacy and buy a load of random bottles and end up popping pills all day, every day, not having a clue if I was consuming the vitamins which I should be consuming at all. But Bionic came to save the day. They are a tailor-made supplement company that will put together your own specific formula based on your activity, your gender. I have Bionic Pro, where I get the blood test done every 3 to 4 months, and based on that blood test, I get my own personalized formula. For those people who don't want to do a blood test or don't have access to that, then you can go with Bionic Go, where you just have to fill in a short questionnaire, and based on that questionnaire, you will get your tailored supplements with a surprisingly high degree of accuracy. So stop the guesswork, sign up to Bionic, and ensure that you remove those deficiencies and build up your immune system.
Okay, TB 500.
Yeah, TB 500. So that works very well. It's synergistic with BPC 157, frequently put into a blend. So it's from the thymus. It's generally a fragment of thymus and beta 4. So thymus and beta 4 is in basically all the cells in the body, and this helps regeneration. That's a 43 chain amino acid, the thymus and beta 4. TB 500 is a synthetic version of that. Does very similar to BPC, but it focuses on soft tissue. So where BPC was connective tissue, this is soft tissue, so muscle, fascia, so it does that. So working the two together is amazing for rehabilitation. TB 500 is often referred to as a fragment 1723. So that's a 17-chain amino acid, which is extracted from that 44-chain amino acid, 7 of those, and then it's got another 10 amino acids to make it more stable and more effective in the body. But it's just sometimes people call TB 500 TB 500 when it should be called 1723. The only difference is it's more targeted, whereas TB 500 and its 43 chain amino acid form is more systemic. It goes around the body, more broad spectrum. When you take it in the 1723, the 17 chain, that's more specific to the target area.
Okay.
Important for both. They can be used intramuscular or with a clinician or medical professional. So I've had my elbow using both of those under ultrasound. So a very long needle, and then they've put it into the area.
Sounds nice.
And that's not fun. But when it's intramuscular, then it's less systemic. So it's going to stay in the target area. Yeah. I get that question all the time. People say, "Oh, I've got my insulin needle where and I've got a bad shoulder, so I inject it in my shoulder." For me, it's ludicrous. I mean, it's subcutaneous. So unless you've got a long needle, you're actually going into the area, which I certainly wouldn't suggest doing at home. Subcutaneous would always be the safest option.
So you mentioned a blend. Is that something where you're getting the two individuals and you're putting them together?
The labs will generally make a blend in
They'll
one
make it
powder.
for you.
Yeah, so it'd be in one vial or in one pen, and they'll put the blends together. They're normally synergistic.
Is there a specific ratio, which is...
Yes, yeah, and that can work for you and against you. There's some doctors online that are making me smile at the moment, talking about disassociation when you put one peptide with another, and the pH levels start to interact with each other. It's mainly nonsense.
Okay.
But to optimize, sometimes BPC and TB, for instance, BPC, ultimately, if you're trying to recover from an injury, you should take twice a day, 5 days on, 2 days off. TB 500, you should probably either take every day or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as an example, a slightly higher dose, but only in the mornings, because TB 500 can disrupt sleep. So if you take them together, you're already losing. If you don't care about disrupting sleep, it's fine. But if you want to have maximum sleep, which is the key for a foundation for recovery, then you don't want to take TB 500 in the evening, which means you can't take it with the BPC. So I get it, but it's not always optimal.
Interesting. Okay, CGC 1295 plus hypermorelin. They're saying yes. Get it. This is the first time I'm saying half of these. This is the growth hormone releasing peptide.
Yeah, growth hormone secretagogues. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good.
Growth hormone secretagogues are really good. So we talk about the doorbell again. So the doorbell in this instance,
this is saying create more growth hormone.
More of your own growth hormone. So it's stimulating the pituitary gland. It's ultimately stimulating the pituitary gland to increase your own endogenous growth hormone. Really good. That's the one I was cycling whenever I'm trying to do body composition. That's what I cycle the most. Everybody loves these. You're getting the benefits of growth hormone potentially without the side effects of injecting synthetic growth hormone into the body.
Yeah.
And yeah, you put on muscle easier, you sleep better, you got more energy, you lose fat better. So it's just optimizing. Again, when you're 25, your growth hormones, when it reached its peak, or probably a bit before that, but it starts to decline from age 25. And we know, as we just said, you can train harder, sleep better, have less sleep, have loads of energy. So that's what optimized growth hormone does.
And it's something women could take as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Explain the differences, because there are slight differences. So testosterone, that's a 44-chain GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. Your growth hormone releasing hormone that's produced by the pituitary gland is actually 44 chains. So testosterone matches that almost identically with a slight modification to extend half-life. That's a GHRH. CJC1295 is also a GHRH, but that's a 29-chain amino acids. So that's an extract from the 44 chain. Generally, based on my experience, other people may differ. Based on my experience, the testosterone is a safer place to start than CJC1295 because the latter seems to and can stimulate a histamine reaction. So I would generally start with testosterone, which is FDA approved for burning visceral fat, actually. And then ipamrelin's a growth hormone releasing peptide, a GHRP. Does the same thing. Eventually it targets the pituitary gland, but it goes for the ghrelin hormone first. And the ghrelin hormone is responsible for hunger. A lot of people get worried, say, am I going to be more hungry? It doesn't. It disassociates itself from the hunger stimulation and just goes from there to the pituitary gland. And then what you've got, people take these together, testosterone, the GHRH, and ipamrelin, the GHRP, and that gives you the full spectrum, or close to the full spectrum of taking a growth hormone, an actual growth hormone synthetic drug. So taking the two together will give you.
That's pretty amazing. So then would that kind of cancel out the need for you actually having full-on growth hormone?
In many cases, this would be where you'd start. And this is why testosterone's been approved, and even semarelin, I think, was approved as to the same effects as growth hormones. This is the safer way to do it without putting exogenous growth hormone into the body, and then you got all these potential side effects. And most people, you should do these first. In my opinion, it becomes an age because remember, we're just creating what's already in there to optimize. So there will be an age when I really am 78. Thank you for that. Where my growth hormone's not really anything to grab onto. So at that point, there's no point me taking a secretagogue that's going to stimulate growth hormones. There's nothing there. So then we'd start to take GAH maybe. Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense. But if you're trying these and taking these, you really have to be keeping an eye out for how your body's responding and whether or not it's actually working. So let's say, for example, I'm the typical guy who's going to the gym. I want to get stronger. I want to improve my body composition, lower body fat, increase muscle mass. I don't want to be jacked beyond belief, but I want to have more energy, feel better, look better. What out of those ones we've just discussed would be an appropriate thing to do moving forward?
Very popular protocol is testosterone, ipamrelin, or CJC and ipamrelin for all the things we just discussed for optimized growth hormone and BPC and TB500. And you can get blends for both. So you can do a blend of the GHRH and GHRP, the testosterone, and you can do a blend of the BPC and TB500. So with that, you've got recovery, building muscle easier, burning fat. So you've got a combination of
So
two.
you can take all of them.
All of them, and the thing is, because you can do a blend, because if you either inject yourself 4 times or 2 times, right? So if you do the blend, you only need to inject yourself 2 times. But you couldn't
put it into one blend, all 4 of them.
I would suggest not. I mean, look, if you so what some people do, and again, a doctor did this in the UK, and there is an issue with this. But if you pull them all into one syringe, bit fiddly. So if it's not in the pen and you just pulled from 4 vials and put it into one syringe and took it immediately, then that's the way of going around not having to inject 4, do 4 injections at once. I did hear of one doctor that did this with all these different crossovers of peptides, different families, different groups, put them into a syringe for their client, it's quite a high-end client, and said, right, take these away with you. And all these peptides are all counterintuitive.
And they all died.
I mean, they're just going to be so less effective. And, the blends, once reconstituted, don't dissociate. But all these, mixing a bioregulator with thymus and alpha 1. And, there's a reason why these labs, again, are a lot more intelligent than myself, are doing certain blends and not.
Yeah.
So for these doctors, say, just put it all in one syringe and keep it in your fridge for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just genuinely curious. And then for, there's a big topic at the moment of men having less testosterone than 20, 30 years ago, whatever. Will these have an effect on overall testosterone production? Is there anything you could take to help guys improve their testosterone, or is it something they should do just literally by improving their sleep, reducing stress, all these other things?
Let's get the basics right first. We have to keep caveating this before we talk about peptides. So making sure you're going to bed around the same time every night, getting your minimum hours of sleep, eating food, lifting weights. Do this for a long period of time. And then if your testosterone is still not optimizing, you're taking all the different supplements and it's still not increasing, then we can look at some peptides, precursors really to producing testosterone. Because we're not putting synthetic hormones into the body. So there's one called kisspeptin, which stimulates LH and FSH hormones. So that's like your precursor to your testosterone production. So again, all we're doing is ringing the doorbell to try and tell the body to produce more testosterone. We're not putting testosterone into the body. So that's really good. Also, the testes bioregulators. We haven't discussed the bioregulators yet, but they're a subcategory of peptides, 2 to 4 amino acid chains that you can take orally. And these come from animal. So this would come from the ball of an animal. So pretty much similar to your organ meats, but a lot more defined. So, and these...
What's in it?
They're basically 2 to 4 chain amino acids from the ball of balls, right? From the testes of balls. And they naturally find the target area. So they match up sort of the amino acid sequence. So they would, in theory, target the epigenetic environment of your testes, of your testicular function, and optimize that, regulate it. So if it's already down regulated, or up regulate it. If in very unlikely event you was producing too much, it would down regulate it. So it's creating regulation for the target area, it's like a DNA switch. It's not changing your DNA, it's a dimmer switch. It's either going to increase or decrease. So really for thyroid, if you had hypothyroidism, it would down regulate it. If you had hypothyroid, it would up regulate it. And there's 21 of those.
Yeah, it's fascinating because there's so many guys in the industry who are just so quick to hop onto TRT just because they want results quickly, and they're either impatient or they've not looked at other areas of their life which can drastically improve. It's funny. I wonder, you could be on all these different protocols of peptides, and I guess you can kind of still class yourself as being natural. It'd be funny in the future to try and figure out at what point are you not natural. This is like a weird obsession people have in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Massive discussion people have about me and other people. Is he natural? Is he not natural? And then in the future, you could be on this peptide protocol and doing all these different things, but technically not taking any steroids.
No.
So it's technically I'm still natural.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any steroids, but really, are you natural anymore with everything you're taking?
Here's some stories. But based on this conversation. So firstly, WADA, they banned a few peptides now, even though they're not deemed as PEDs. They have banned them. There was an American football team, I believe. I was told this by one of my American counterparts, that took BPC 157 during training. And they said, going back to the start, when you take these peptides, they're in and out the body very quickly. You can't find them. You can't test for peptide levels in the body in theory. It's like saying, can I test your collagen levels? It's just not really possible. I mean, anything's possible, but you'd have to, you know. So is all we're doing is stimulating what's already there. Who can say that my production of testosterone isn't this high? Because all you're seeing is endogenous testosterone. There's no synthetic testosterone going into the body when I take kisspeptin. So the BPC 157, they're all using it for their training, and then they went out and I think they won, the bowl or something, and they were just so advanced more than everyone else. And they said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're taking this peptide BPC 157. It's fine, it's natural." And they said, and they looked into it and said, "Actually, you can't use this because you're able to train better. So because you can train better, that's not fair on everybody else."
Because that is going to be a big thing now in the Olympics, all these other big sports categories. I mean, what's your opinion? Like, you think, surely it's okay.
Everyone's take it.
Yeah.
We're all on a level playing field. It's fine. And again, these things don't work unless you're enhancing your lifestyle anyway. So it's about your fit. I mean, if you're just taking BPC and sitting around doing nothing, it's not going to do anything really. It might heal your gut, but not much more than that.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, I shouldn't simplify it so much, but let's call it an advanced supplement.
Mm-hmm. One which I'm becoming increasingly interested in. Moving on to cognitive and nervous system peptides. So this is, I guess, the peptides which is going to improve brain function, alertness, focus, all these things. We'll start off with Semax. What's this one?
So Semax. So Russian-derived peptide, founded in the 1970s or 1960s. It was used during the Cold War, I believe, for more focus for Russian soldiers. Loads of human data on it. And this helps stimulate neuroreceptors to be more cognitive, for cognitive energy and focus. I think I mentioned at the beginning, it comes from the stress hormone in the body. So it's a 4 amino acid extract. Added another 3 amino acids to make it a 7 amino acid chain. And the reason why they do that is so it breaks through the blood-brain barrier and is more stable. And that really works well as nasal spray, actually. So because you're just common sense, rather than take it subcutaneous, waiting for the brain, straight to the neuroreceptors. And actually the great, even though you're taking it as a protocol for long-term compounded benefits, when you do take it as a nasal spray, you do feel a little boost straight away. Yeah. It's important to understand it's not a stimulant. We're just optimizing the neuroreceptors to perform better. We're not stimulating.
Okay,
so it's not like taking a caffeine shot.
A whole lot of Coke.
No.
Okay. So if you took that, could that potentially fix an individual who just has poor focus and just has a poor attention span?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very common actually for females at perimenopause. They suffer from brain fog.
Yeah.
I often guide them to use Semax as part of their protocol to help them with just uplifting mood, well, more cognitive energy and focus, and to help with brain fog. And over time, we are seeing some good responses from it.
Yeah. Okay. And then Selank and, am I saying that right?
Selank is good, yeah.
Yes, Selank, PE2228.
Yeah, so the Selank is, so I always remember Selank by Selanxious, as in anxiety.
Okay. Yeah.
And same thing. So interestingly, that's the same as the Semax. It's a 7-chain amino acid, but that comes from an immune protein, and that's been adapted to be a 7-chain again to do the same thing, be more stable and go straight to the neuroreceptors. And that's really good for mood regulation, depression. So a lot of people are using that rather than antidepressants. Again, I couldn't advise to people to come off antidepressants, but
I've not heard good things about antidepressants.
No,
but we won't go into that, obviously.
No, let's not do that today.
Okay. And then the one which I am actually trying, guys, we are like 5 days deep into this one, Dihexa. I'm curious about this one. I mean, for me and just my general approach to it so far, I'm really quite happy with how my physique is, my performance in the gym. I don't feel like I'm taking a long time when it comes to recovery because my programming is so dialed, my sleep is on point and everything. But with my job on a day-to-day basis, I just need to be so switched on all the time. Like creatively doing these podcasts, being on video, like I just need to be always on point. So I'm speaking to Vadim about potential peptides for just improving brain function. And this is a good one, apparently. I mean, it said when you're taking things like this, you're not going to immediately start to see a difference. It would take, let's say, for example, if I was taking this once per day, which I am, how long until things really start to...
Research says around about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But whether it's placebo or not, so many people start this and within a week they said they feel amazing. And really Dihexa, this is for learning and memory. And the research dictates that the more damaged your brain is, the more effective it will be. But, brain damage in the terms that we're using is aging. As I said to you earlier, my daughter's learnt Spanish in 6 months. I'm still struggling 6 years later. I was just about to say hello and goodbye, and that's because my learning optimal, I don't learn as optimal as they do. So taking something Dihexa should get us back to that base level. And again, that's just a 9-chain amino acid. It comes from it's a derivative of the hormone that regulates blood pressure. And then they just add it again, they modified it and turned it into a 9-chain, and again this makes it more stable and good for cognitive performance.
Because for someone like me, for example, you're sitting down, you're doing a podcast with someone, and they're coming at you with so much information. I want to remember everything, and it's so hard. So I'm hoping this can help to improve that. This
is probably a really bad analogy or anecdote, but I started taking Dihexa. So I watch these Netflix, sit down with my wife, watch Netflix series or whatever, and all these people, when they watch it, they're talking about the actors, the actresses, the name of the program. I was like, I just don't remember that stuff. Anything about peptides, I remember it forever, but stuff like this, I just don't care. And I started taking Dihexa, and we went out for lunch with some friends. I remember the name of the series, the actors, and I was just surprised myself. I said, I really don't normally remember things like that. So it's really good for remembering non-important things.
Is there anything you could potentially take for sleep quality, and maybe even just like switching off and falling asleep quickly?
So two peptides to look at. Firstly, the peptide bioregulator Epitalon, the first one I ever took. Because it's enhancing anti-aging, we know that the foundation of health is sleep. So what this does, it helps balance your circadian rhythm. You can take it as an injection, subcutaneous, or you can take it as a capsule bioregulator, because it's only 2 to 4 amino acid chains. So it does the bioregulation, the DNA switch that I mentioned earlier, and that is really good for long-term sleep, deep sleep. In fact, the first 10 days you take it, everyone who takes it for the first time, they need to take afternoon naps.
Oh, really?
Which is good where I'm in Spain, because we just haven't called it a siesta, right? But everyone else is sort of, and it was just wiping me out. I just had to sleep. Felt great, but got to sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon, took a 20-minute nap, and I felt good. Went to bed at 9 o'clock, deep sleep. Amazing for that. And again, that's that's almost like the precursor to what it's for. It's for longevity and increasing telomeres.
Well, that's weird though, because you're taking something to improve your sleep, but then it's going to make you more sleepy in the day. So it's kind of like, there's a trade-off there a little bit.
There is 10 days, generally 7 to 10 days. And then after that, the next time you do it, it's not quite as profound.
I think for my, obviously I wear Whoop, you got an Oura ring, don't you? So like there's ways to track it. Debatable as to how reliable and truthful it is, but I mean, we can say it's quite good. But one thing I've noticed is I don't think I get as much deep sleep as I should. It seems to kind of max out at like 1 hour or an hour and something. And I don't know if that's got something to do with maybe I should try to go to bed even earlier than I am, because at the moment I'm probably falling asleep between 12 and 1.
Okay, it's quite late.
But then I wake up at like 9. So it's not like the duration of sleep is bad, but more people I've spoken to have said you're going to get more deep sleep if you go to bed earlier. And then obviously you have to ensure that you eat a reasonable time before that. Everybody's saying now that most of your calories should be consumed in the morning, early afternoon, and then you kind of have I know this is probably going to be problematic in Spain, because everybody likes to eat at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Definitely not us. We're the most boring family in Spain, I think. But
So there's a couple of experiments that I would like to make, but the sleep one.
So I've been taking the DSIP, which is delta sleep inducing peptide, or deep sleep inducing peptide, which could be interesting for yourself. And that's a nasal spray. Again, it's targeting neuroreceptors, and I take that when I'm traveling. And I've been taking that this week. And generally when I get to hotels, particularly in Dubai and all the connecting flights, I sleep terrible. And I've been taking a couple of sprays before bed, and my sleep score's gone up since I've been here. I've been here 4 nights.
Oh, wow.
And my sleep score's gone up on my Oura rather than when I'm at home. So that never happens. So DSIP, really good. And you don't wake up drowsy. You feel good. I mean, maybe a little bit drowsier because you've had such a deep sleep, but not like you've taken a sleep.
Okay, so let's say, for example, I was needing to travel, and I'm going to be traveling for a week, and then I've got there's the time zone difference. There's like new bed, new environment, maybe a little bit of added extra stress for whatever reason. Something like this you could do for that week
or maybe the 2 weeks to get used to the time zones, and that should fix quite a lot of the issues.
Absolutely, yeah. My only for this is fine, and the reason why I'm taking it now when I'm traveling, because I don't take it when I'm at home.
Yeah.
Some people that really struggle with sleep, then I have research protocols for them, which would be 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you're going to take it as a protocol, because then my concern would be dependency.
Yeah.
Even though it's acting as a peptide, you have this habitual type dependency. And if I'm not putting something up my nose, I can't sleep properly. So that's what we need to try and stay away from. And that's with a few peptides like oxytocin and things like that, where you get such a good dopamine response. You think, if I don't take the peptide, I'm not going to feel good. And this is when we need to be really sensible.
Yeah, I can
with
see this
cycles.
being a big issue when people are taking things that they're noticing the positive side effects. Then there's the placebo on top of that, and the habit of doing it. To come off it, it might make you think like, oh no, like I need to get back on it. It's like some guys who are taking steroids, like they get their body into this elite condition, which they cannot achieve naturally. And they know that the only way to look at this is by taking the steroids. And they come off the steroids because you need to come off the steroids because you're going to destroy yourself. And then their physique is not, it's not as easy to maintain. They don't look as good. The body composition is not the same. And then they're like, oh, fuck, I need to get back on it again.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, maybe different for that, but it is placebo because, what we're doing, as I mentioned with peptides, we're just increasing your baseline again. So when you stop, it doesn't just stop working. That's not how peptides work. It's not a drug. And I have a girl in Ibiza at the moment who struggles with really bad anxiety. Even when she gets in a car, she can't drive. She's so anxious. So I advised her to look at Selank and a peptide bioregulator called central nervous system. So she run these two together to regulate her central nervous system and take Selank before she gets in the car. And she just sent me a voice, mate. She's almost in tears where she said, I can't believe how good I feel. I'm not taking any of the stuff I was taking before for anxiety. I feel amazing.
Now she's speeding.
She sent me fines for I get speeding tickets. But then she said, I've come off them now and I'm really worried. And I said, well, you didn't. She goes, I feel so good. I don't want to come off them. I said, okay, well, this is when you need to understand the science behind it. It's not take a drug, it stops working with building up your base level. Yes, that base level might start to decline, but this is when you need to be intuitive. Peptides, I think you need to have a certain IQ level to take them and be very, very intuitive and very aware, because it's a natural outcome. It's innate, and you need to just be very mindful and not just ignorantly take peptides. I think that's really, really important.
I guess one of the hardest things is to measure its effectiveness, because you could say to yourself, right, I'm going to start taking these peptides, but at the same time, I'm also going to focus on my diet and start eating cleaner. I'm also going to start exercising more, and also I'm going to try and focus on my sleep. So you're doing all these positive things. How do you then know that these results have come from the peptide or from these other things that you might be doing?
It's, as you say, it's almost impossible to test. Interestingly, not for someone like yourself, but interestingly, people are more motivated when they take the peptides. You see that a lot. So they say, right, now I'm taking the peptides, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to train harder. And they say, I feel amazing. I say, well, that was probably because you're training harder and stopped drinking, and the peptides just gave you a little bit of enhanced effects. That's all peptides are doing, enhancing what you're trying to do naturally. So it's probably a combination of the two, but probably 80% lifestyle, 20% the peptide.
Yeah.
And you can't test that, but when people stop taking the peptide and they continue with their lifestyle, it's great. And then after a while, they see a little decline, but it's no more than optimizing what you're doing naturally.
Yeah. So let's move on to cosmetic and skincare peptides. So peptides are going to be making us look youthful and beautiful and all of that. So one which is quite common is the copper peptide, GHK-Cu.
Yeah.
Why is this so popular?
Well, I think it's because it has multiple applications. It's a tripeptide, a small chain amino acid. So you can take it orally for gut health because it's so small. It just goes in and fixes the gut. To go back, it's stimulates. It's the collagen doorbell.
Okay.
So it's ringing the doorbell to stimulate collagen endogenously. So you're basically creating better collagen production internally to externally rather than externally to internally.
I was going to say, like, obviously there's lots of collagen powders. Is one superior to the other, or they're just different?
I think because you're talking about subcutaneous now, because you're taking it subcutaneously, you're hitting all these receptors more directly.
Yeah.
So it's going to encourage more collagen stimulation than taking an oral peptide or a collagen, because really collagen there are some theories that it does the same thing with stimulating receptors, but in reality, most of it's being broken down in your gut and fixing your gut, which has amazing benefits for skin because you're fixing your gut health, but you're not hitting the same receptors. The other thing with GHK-Cu, you can take it topically. You can do microneedling. You can do it in a serum, and you can do it orally, and you can take it as an injection. So
topically, what were you talking about? Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I've had a hair transplant, so anything topically, I just assume means hair.
Yeah. So on your skin, topical application, and there are some serums where people are rubbing it into their scalp as well.
Okay, and that would be okay to take. Let's say, for example, you did a blood test, and you find out your copper levels are actually above optimal or high. It's not going to be a problem. Not
a problem, but for those people, I would take zinc with it just to balance it out.
Okay, and then matrixyl and acetyl hexapeptide 8, common in skincare for wrinkle reduction and surface expression.
Okay. I wasn't aware of those. It's doing it. I don't.
You probably weren't aware of it because of the way I said it, to be honest.
No. Well, that was the start. And I was thinking, I don't know about these peptides. But I have seen them. A lot of people ask me questions, and to be brutally honest, I don't have much information on them. They're being discussed a lot in the cosmetic industry, and all the peptides we're talking about, I've got a lot of research and data and time. I don't with those two, so I wouldn't comment on something I don't have much knowledge on.
Good answer. For most people, they want their skin to be better, and they want to reduce the wrinkles. Would there be? I mean, apart from those are the ones that are, maybe you don't know so much about. Is there any other ones which are going to be good just for looking better?
Well, the GHK-Cu copper for sure.
Okay, that's the main one.
That's the main one, and that's stimulating. Everybody loves that because it's stimulating collagen production, and also this is really good. Some people add that to their injury repair because your tendons are 90% collagen. So you're taking BP. This is a stat, by the way. BPC, TB500, and GHK-Cu together, you're healing your tendons. So people love that with the side effect of having better skin and collagen production.
Yeah.
So that works really well. And the collagen microneedling, the GHK-Cu microneedling. There's someone in Dubai that does it. My daughter does it in the UK. She's an aesthetics nurse, and she uses the GHK-Cu to stimulate collagen in the face directly. So within 2 weeks, you see really good results. Okay. Actually taking the two together, subcutaneous and in the face microneedling, you're going to see some great results.
Yeah. And then hair loss.
My expertise, obviously. I'd mount the people that ask about hair loss. It's a strange one. But, no, I missed the boat there, obviously. GHK-Cu copper. It stimulates hair follicles, so good for hair thickness. And then rubbing a serum. Also.
I'd be so annoyed if I took that. I'd be like, right, let's get some thicker hair, and then I just end up having the hairiest chest ever. I'm like, oh, nice, cool, just back hair.
Imagine. It tends to work well. And as I say, some people getting the exosomes and the GHK-Cu microneedling in the scalp. That tends to work quite well. So there's a lot of advancement in hair regeneration at the moment. There's some people say they've got found some results in actual hair loss in baldness. So some people say they've got some products on that, but I'd have to leave someone else to discover that because I'm really silly with hair. So you don't want me walking around with an afro, I can tell you that.
A few of the ones. I mean, I guess one thing that I wanted to discuss is gut health, because I think that's very underrated and is a cause for many issues that a lot of people will be experiencing. So I think maybe some of them can have a positive effect for the gut health. Is there a peptide in particular that its sole focus is to improve gut health, or does it not work like that?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. There's a combination that I like. I because it's one that we haven't discussed yet today, Lorazotide. So Lorazotide is an 8-chain amino acid that's actually not found in the body. It's found in a bacteria and water. So this is one, when I said most peptides target receptor proteins, some that don't, this is one that doesn't. So this one actually targets tight junction proteins, and they're like the little guardians that are responsible for intestinal permeability and protecting your cells. So when people have got leaky gut, or intestinal permeability, they take something like Lorazotide orally. It closes up the permeabilities in the gut. So this is really, it's being studied heavily for celiac disease. So just to heal your gut, it's going to be very difficult to heal your gut if you've still got leaky gut. So starting with Lorazotide is really good. GHK-Cu is good, again helping the collagen. BPC, which is found in the intestines, is juices, is really good. TB500 is good. So all this sort of systemic healing we're getting from subcutaneous injection, because these amino acid chains, They don't break the endothelium when you take them orally, so they don't go into the bloodstream as such, but they are healing your gut.
Yeah.
So you don't need it to go any further. And the only one that would add to that, which is also good for skin actually, is KPV. That's a tripeptide. That's at the end of the alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone, which is responsible for melanotan-1, PT141 for sexual performance.
Is melanotan a peptide?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is when the bodybuilder bros start coming out. So I've been taking peptides for 30 years.
Oh, no, I had no idea that was a peptide.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a ridiculous. I don't really think I've seen anybody take that and look good. I mean, they look purple.
Yeah.
Like they get like, if I took melanotan, this is what people don't understand. They look at me and they're like, oh, he's taking melanotan. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, if I was taking that, I'd be taking that. Like, I would be purple.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make your eyes more blue or something?
I saw a guy that was really into peptides. He was actually one of the people that trained me early on in 2015, 16. And I saw him at a peptide conference. And he walked in the room and his eyes were, he had red eyes, his blue eyes were bulging out, his skin was purple. I was like, he's been testing his own product, clearly.
Yeah.
Melanotan-1 or maybe melanotan-2. So that is a peptide. That's a 13-chain peptide. The hormone it comes from, the AMSH hormone, that's responsible for anti-inflammatory, skin pigmentation. And that's a 13-chain. Melanotan is a 13-chain modified. Melanotan-2 is a 7-chain modified. PT141 for libido, sexual health, erectile dysfunction is a 7-chain from that AMSH. And then KPV is at the end of the 13 chain, so it's 3, which is really good as for pro-inflammatory cytokines, for fighting those. Because of that chain, I think it really helps good with skin inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, when you take it orally, it helps with gut inflammation as well.
Yeah.
So that list of peptides there, and actually we have one compound in Europe where it's got all of those in one capsule.
Yeah.
So the KPV, TB, GHK-Cu, we have the Lorazotide, we have the full list in one capsule.
I really feel like, based on this conversation, there is a solution for almost everything. Maybe not everything, but if you are struggling with something, there might be a peptide that can help. Is there anything that you have, come across that a peptide can't fix? I mean, obviously, everybody's going to die, so peptides can't. We're not quite there yet.
I haven't prevented death yet. No, we haven't found that one. I mean, as I said, I work with healthy people to make them healthier, longevity, anti-aging, prevention to a degree. So there's lots of peptides in medical research at the moment, deep in medical research. PNC27, that's for cancer. So that's been researched at the moment. I mean, the one peptide we haven't discussed today, and so I digress a lot, but there's a peptide called ARA290. That's an 11-chain amino acid, and that has been shown to regenerate and fix nerves.
Okay.
And there's been human studies on this. This is the conspiracy part maybe, but you take ARA290, there's been loads of human studies since early 2000s, 2010, where people are struggling very badly for nerve pain, and this has regenerated and fixed their nerves. It's not blocked it like some of the medication we would take, it's fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
And the studies have just stopped on it.
Yeah, that's when you know something sketchy is going on.
I daren't say, I won't say.
Yeah. Let's not get this video taken down. Is there any other ones we've not mentioned? I think we've mentioned MOTS-C.
MOTS-C, I spoke about that at the beginning. Yeah. It's a really good peptide, super potent for mitochondria health, energy. It's an exercise mimetic, and really good, but has to be taken very, very carefully. Can trigger mast cells and histamine reaction. I've even seen, not my clients, but people going to anaphylactic shock, so it shouldn't be treated like another peptide. So just make sure you work with someone that knows what they're doing, and not if the person consulting on this peptide tells you to take it every day or 5 days on for 6 weeks, don't work with them, because they don't understand peptides at a deeper level. And some people, and people listening to this have probably taken MOTS-C because it's trending, or some people would have done, and I say, I've been great. I took it for 6 weeks. I was fine. Great. Wait to the next cycle and the cycle after that. That's when you need to be careful, because you're creating that compounded effect, and that your immune system is protecting you. So the mast cell, that's what mast cells do, right? They're like bodyguards to your immune system. So if you keep poking them, eventually something might happen. So be really careful with MOTS-C.
Okay. And then just one thing which I want to clear up just for myself is there's 3 ways to take them. There's the injections, there's the pill form, and then there's also nasal. I'm curious to know why some are specifically needed to be taken in a particular way. I mean, I know stuff for the
the brain, it makes sense because it's just going to, anything you take nasally just goes straight to the brain. But the pill and the injection, will it get to a point where everything could be in pill form, or won't work like that?
There's always, it's 2026. There's always people looking for new methods to try and get away from doing subcutaneous injection. Subcutaneous injection for systemic effects seems to be the best way at the moment. Anything for the gut orally, and anything for the brain intranasal, and of course you've got the topical cream as well. All I'd say to people that are out there looking at all these new sort of delivery mechanisms or methodologies that are taking like sublingual, peptides and what have you, I'm sure they have some efficacy. There's some good people that I aspire to or have a good reputation that are promoting these sort of products, but until the $30 billion insulin industry is not using it, it's probably not that effective.
Okay, and then one which I was curious about, the NAD, that's not a peptide.
That's not a peptide, no. So that's
is it commonly grouped into?
Mistakenly so, yeah. One of my frustrations. So NAD plus is a coenzyme. There is a level of signaling molecule to it, but it's not a peptide. Doesn't have any amino acids. And again, when we see these peptide cheat sheets all over the internet, and they're talking about, on my peptide protocol, I'm doing NAD plus. And I say this.
That's just like an immediate red flag. Like, you don't have a clue what
you don't know what you're talking about. They do it the same with SLU-PP332, which is an exercise mimetic. They do it with 5-amino 1-MQ. I saw a doctor this morning actually ranting on Instagram saying people are, misselling these peptides, 5-amino 1-MQ, and they're saying, this peptide doesn't work like this. I was like, it's not a peptide. It's not it doesn't even have an amino acids in it, and that's what throws them, because it's called 5-amino. They think it's got amino acids in, but it doesn't. It's just need to do some research and have some knowledge and not just throw things out there because other people are talking about it.
And then from just you're obviously an expert in this field. You have almost been a guinea pig for yourself and trying to see what works, what's not working. What is your current protocol, or the ones that you like personally for yourself?
Yeah, I'd say at the moment, because we're in the winter essentially. Yeah. So thymosin alpha 1, which is the immune optimizing peptide. I've been taking that on and off for 7 years around when I travel or seasonal, depending if I'm in the UK or Dubai. So that's really good. I've not been sick where I've been wiped out with a sickness or proper bug since 2018. So we're pushing for, it was in the summer of 2018. So we're pushing, that was when I was in Bangkok. So we're pushing for 8 years. I was tested positive for COVID, but I just had an achy quad. So that was an odd one. So I really put that down to along with lifestyle, of course, I put that down to one of the reasons why I haven't got sick, touchwood. Every time I talk about this, I'm worried I'm tempting fate.
So that's something you've been taking every winter?
Pretty much, yeah, or round travel. Even if the summer I'm traveling to different climates, I just take myself personally, again, this is not advice, I take 1.5 milligrams 3 times a week or every other day if I'm going to travel. When I get to the destination, I run the same sort of protocol until I leave and go back to my home country. And that seems to have helped, because that's tends to...
It makes sense, because I look back to the times when I've been ill, and it's always around these periods of travel, like literally like after being on a long haul flight or something. And particularly in the winter, especially, I feel like in Dubai, everything would be okay. But the fact that everybody from Europe comes to Dubai in the winter, they just bring all their germs and illnesses with them and just spread them to everyone. And then I end up getting it.
Absolutely.
So
on the flights, when you're on the flights and everyone coughing, I'm like, oh.
Anything else which is noteworthy?
Yeah, so and I'm running LL37 at the moment. That's a 37 chain amino acid. You run that with thymosin alpha 1. You shouldn't take it on its own because it's so strong. It can have almost have a negative effect on the immune system. It's the closest thing to an antibiotic in a peptide form, and that's antimicrobial and sort of cleanse the germs. So I took that for a few days. I actually felt like I was detoxing a bit on it, so I stopped that. And then since I've been here, deep sleep inducing peptide spray, and of course Semax and Selank for all podcasts.
Yeah, nice. So is there been any horror stories or maybe sketchy incidents that you've experienced with patients, people you've spoken to, or even with yourself?
Myself, no. I mean, the LL37, I felt like I was going for a bit of a detoxing process. So I stopped that because I just felt, you detox, you sort of feel dirty. I didn't like that. So I stopped that immediately. Again, intuition. Just sometimes just got to, remember we're trying to optimize. That might mean I've got something deeper to evaluate at some point, but just not right now. I think the worst things I've seen personally with clients that I've worked with, I've got a lot of horror stories from doctors and what have you, but from clients that I work with, are histamine responses to growth hormone secretagogues. So they've started. This is before I had the knowledge. We was taking of the CJC versus testosterone and why CJC might create a histamine response over testosterone. And CJC 1295, I was taking it. Was building muscle, burning fat, mixed it with ipamorelin, no problem. And then I had one client take it, and they got quite a few nodules, quite a few like lumps, which you can get. These just pass. And then the next day they took it, and then this carried on for 5 days on, 2 days off. And the following week they took it, and they took a CJC injection around the right side, and all the injection points came up where they'd been previously injecting. All these little lumps started popping up.
Interesting.
And I was like, whoa, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
This was quite a while ago. And then I understood it was just a complete mast cell response. And look, the peptides, it's not the peptide, it's the individual.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got your DOA enzymes and not optimal, you've got leaky gut, and you're taking these sort of more histamine type response peptides, they're going to create a response because you're not healthy enough to take them, or your gut's not in a good enough position to take them. So we always start with the calming peptides, the lower peptides, the testosterone and KPV is a really good place to start, depending on who I'm working with.
Yeah.
So I think that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then. I mean, to wrap up, this all sounds very interesting and promising. Even for me, I'm like, oh, what should we get started with? For the average person, or the person who's listening, is this something that they could take into their own hands, and assuming they're purchasing good quality peptides, they can just start experimenting with themselves, or go to a professional and have a discussion with them, and maybe even show them some blood work and be like, hey, what do you think would be the best course of action for me?
Yeah,
because I really just don't think most people can take this into their own hands.
No,
it's not going to end well.
No, sorry, I was interrupted, but it'd be really irresponsible of me to say to people, buy peptides from a trusted source and start injecting yourself.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. But also, just do your research on the person that you're going to be working with. These are non-medical professionals, but by all means, work with a medical professional. But make sure they have real experience. There's lots of good doctors in all the regions in the UAE. In I would say lots. There's 1 or 2 in Europe. 1 or 2 in the UK, a few here. Reach out to me and I can direct people. I do the peptide education discovery calls. So I help people understand more about peptides and the education that I've learned for them to go on as a guide. And then if they want to ultimately deal with a medical professional, then I can direct them to different doctors to work with if that's their preference. I can tell them the blood data I like to see, because the reason why we're looking at blood data is not to test for their peptide levels, it's to test the potential efficacy of the peptide. So this peptide probably won't work so well for you because you've got leaky gut, or your hormones are imbalanced, or your kidneys are not functioning optimally, even though they don't affect your liver and kidneys. They have to have the clearance, they have to be able to, it's like an electrical circuit. If it's not optimal, then these peptides are not going to work as well. So yeah, you have to do your research.
Yeah. I think for me as well, like when I consider who I'm actually going to take advice from, or maybe ask questions about, I will just look at their history and how long they've been in this game for. Like if they've dedicated a large chunk of their life to peptides, studying it, experimenting with it, then I'm going to listen to that person versus the person who's literally just been started to talk about it for the past 6 months or so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can people find you?
So we have got, Instagram is dean.e.henry, and then we've got DN Lab Research, bioniclab.com, and also UAEpeptidesresearch.com.
Yeah. So is there physical places where people can go right now? I know there's Spot and Ibiza.
Spot and Ibiza at the moment is for educational purposes. So they come in and educate them, and then they can go and buy the peptides. We're just going through some medical licensing there. But mostly through me, it's through online websites.
Nice. Awesome. This has been amazing. And can't wait to turn into a superhuman in like a year or two after.
Even more superhuman. So that's all we need.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.